Morning, everyone. Energy line centers and position location of track lines. Understand your planet locations. Everybody wants to know their planet, but they have no idea what it is. You have to understand something. What happens is when I give you information, it's all calculated and modified to your planet location, which is energy. Okay. So wanted to know these things and understanding these things are two different things, locations. So when you get your planets, you're already in your future communication system. But it's better to understand more levels of your memories before you understand your planets. Okay, because it's confusing and anomaly to space line interference. Your planets are all set line interference location of foundation through your AI connections, right? So it's important you understand that. Okay, it's important you really get into more levels of your memory, your custom records, your connections to all levels of interference, your position locations to your contracts and blueprints. That's more important than your planets. Okay, I don't mind giving you guys your planets, but it has no recognition. You don't understand what it is because it's all levels of information. Your birthline center is calculation to your planet system, right? So once you understand that, then you understand your planets are already in the future communication, right? But you have to understand your memories first, right? Just to get that, in a way where you get a better understanding how it sets line communications. So in channel operation line center, this is day 3 line in rotation into your blood moon communication system. All right, so you're gonna have to catch up because they're gonna talk very, very fast. All right, so in line communication centers, we set line course and communications to 1111. Now we know that portal line communication sets line calculation centers. Center interference direct locations. Now, setting communication line centers is all levels of high interference. Setting communication line streams is all line connections. Times pi sets line position. We start line communication equivocations. How change position location directions. Let's start with that, right? You see that location? Now times pi, 3 line center and rotations, and 6 in position location, 3 here, and 9 line center interference, 12 here in line center location into 24. See that sets location, position of direction. 3, 6, 12, 24, 9 line center. You automatically set location into position locations into its diamond core line center interference. Sets line conditions, changes position locations of measure, circle line center of a 2 rotation system. 2 line center comes in rotation, equal locations to its equation line center, equal line center location into times calculation times pi. Okay, equal line conditions of calculation. All right, so there's so many line communication centers. Okay, travel communication line center rotation interference. All position locations go. Calculation modification stream center locations times pi over factor communication line connection line centers. Rotate center line rotation 12 DNA track locations. Allocate not time line center interference location calculations. Spine line center interference location. Moon trap line center interference line connection position directions. Setting goals at communication line center in rotation interference. Coming into division line centers, into dimension line connection, interdimensional line rotation calculation high system. Position location times. Timeline center time sector communication vector over pi. Position location directions, set communication intergalactic line connections, galactic line center line rotation interference, clock line center, force line communication, future and communication center, setting location and goals communication, aberration, lights, communication, air light communication line stream, set line connection, moon line center location, high system, DNA track locations, third day track line center interference of all levels of resolution location of reflection, set line connection levels of AI tech, set communication system. Guys are traveling. All right, that's setting signals. Now, setting course line channels is all communication. Right, it's true to understand how to use your travel locations and position of direction. Setting high channels of communication system. Your Merkaba sets line course. Okay, so you got 3 line communication, 16 line center, 9 line center, 12 line center interference. So every time you get a 4 line track, it sets locations to your shape. Okay, shape comes into line position locations into higher level of communication system. High line center locations comes into position location directions into your Merkaba channel. That Merkaba channel comes into solar graph line center rotation interference. Set signal its location to ground line center rotation to position magnetic highway information system. Correlates its high line center and position locations into your tesseract of your tetrahedron location. Hoo-ah. Now, 3 line centers and set line communications, set line position locations into force communication center. Communication at force line centers opens all communication system. Allocates timelines times streams. Times lines, elevate line center rotation times calculation. Times calculation is the calculation of lines and how it modifies your signals. It sets locations into your line positions. So you get 3 line, 6 line rotation to alpha wave communication and delta communication to omega communication system. Timeline, streamline center interference. Sets all communication system. 3-track location of sun. Sun 3 line centers in position. Atmosphere change line center and abdomen line center rotation at 6. 6 position operation. Operation at delta. Delta communications alpha. Alpha delta Bravo communication Echo Zero 1. Tango Tango Foxtrot. Set line connections. Roger that. Over to out. Communication interference. Direct location of the system. Direct line centers a streamline rotation. Interference location all levels sets new position location of your directions to your ground center of operation system. Ooh-ah. Now, understanding line centers. Let's go and calculate 12 DNA line center interference. Directs its locations and position locations. All right. So you got 2 graph line centers. Let's open that line conditions, right? Now you got a 48 window line center, 48 position location calculations, 40 equal line center location of 72, 72 line conditions equal line is 144. Okay, that sets line conditions of 3 line centers. Sets position location into a triangle communication system. Position of direction. Now, once you come to line centers, the 3 line centers sets line conditions of 6, 6 position location of 9, 9 position location of 12, 12 line centers equal location is equal line condition of 24, 24 line center location 9 equals 24 position location direction. Complicated, eh? All right, so as you understand the line communication, you understand your 12 DNA line. So in ground line center, basic understanding is your 12 DNA. That's all this is your 12 DNA, okay? So let's start off with the 0 line connections. 0 line connection is what? Your crop circle, location, position, okay? Now, 1 line center is what? Your grounds in rotation, which is a grid. Okay, see how that works? Foundations, crop circle. Light comes through line communication, right above the line communication system. This is what your chakra system looks like, locations. Right? Crop circle, grounds. Now, you got electrical light communication, which is your roots. Like tree roots, coming line center interference. That's 2. That's secure line defense. That sets up another grid line center rotation interference calculation, position location of travel communication, graph line streams location. So there's a graph position above. So in position location is 2 is secure line defense line, communication to earth rotation center communication system. Now, 3 communication is what? Your sacral. Your sacral line center location comes into a circle line rotation interference of travel location into a Fibonacci sequence line center, circle location, position, and direction. Center communication centers. Now, setting line communication of perimeters, setting center and position location directions, sets course of high line center into a Fibonacci sequence in 2 lines position location directions. 2 line channels of operation line system. 4 comes into high center location, which is your solar plex, solar graph, solar energy generator communication system. That's at rotation. Now, 5 comes into position location, which is a what? Is your heart line center. 5 line center is the balanced communication line stream in the position locations of yin and yang. See how that works? That's just in 5 line centers. This is all connected to your Merkaba tesseract tetrahedron location. So in that line center, okay, screen that. All right. Try to understand what this all means. This is all levels of you, how your chakra system works. Now, in that calculation system, let's go up in the higher line center. Now, in line center rotation, we go into 6. 6 is line centers to what? We already know line center Y. Y equals vector communication, equal locations of flux or capacitor communication system, right? So it's calculated to what? Your throat communication system, right? Which is your locations to what? Your clarity communication system, right? So it opens all line centers to your the water, the intake, the air, the esophagus locations, the collateral line centers, the throat, the communications, the triangulation sign line centers and position location directions, your number sequence patterns, all connected to your throat line. So in that calculation, high center location, it puts you in what? In division. Okay? To understand how to use it and always informs how you sing in that line conditions. So understanding that line center, coming down center position location directions into all levels of 7. 7 location equals travel, which is location equal line communications of your third eye communication system. Position, location, direction. Right? So once you understand that, then you understand the line conditions all levels of 8. 8 is simple. It's an 8-line center rotations interference location, 12 DNA track line centers of all communication system, telegraphing, teleenergy, telecommunication, teleportation. It's your unit system locations. all levels of line connections into your bracket interference locations into the line communication of zeros and ones locations, sending line connections of 7-digit interference. It's a telephone. Calling, right? Clearing call communication, line system, position directions. 9 is the central line communications. So 9 is the equal line center location of you, center communication, anything through travel location of box position. 4 box line centers and rotation interference. Point dot, point dot, point dot. Center communications, travel line center location, position, and direction. Now, 9 is the equal line center location of all levels of you. 6 equal line center. 6 equals 9. Plug division location into yin and yang, process of communication. So line communication comes into higher level system line connection. Now this comes into higher levels of travel times calculation times pi over factor communication, anchor points communication, galaxy service line center interference times calculation pi in position location 4 track line centers equal location times line. Time interference location calculation sets line position location to 69, 69 position location 9, 9 position location 12, 12 position location 3, 369 communication. Direct locations high system in position to your Merkabah position. So center line connections coming in that position location direction get you a better understanding. Okay. So the 7 track line centers, okay, that is your body of water. Okay. 7 equals body of water. Okay. Now, whatever you take in your body line center interference puts you into levels of vortex communication. Travel line centers, vortex communications, triangles, set line communications in the Merkabah, tesseract change, high center location, and computer adaptation and interference. So in that calculations, you have 7 line centers, 8 line centers in positions over line position, 7 equals occasion line centers in position of vector over cross line center into volume communication of velocity, position, location, directions, setting communication system into triangulation, position, location, direction. So once you come in that line conditions, 9 is the representation of what? Through calculations. If you understand the 7 bodies of water, which I just showed you through your chakra system, treating out how to use it through representation, then you understand how anything above the line centers, you're reaching higher levels of atmosphere line connection. So the mind alteration of how to use your conscious line connection. Staying out of the conscious, staying in the subconscious line into the super of its consciousness sets line communication, position, location, and all direction. Right? It simplifies these things, guys. Try to understand how to use your chakra system of DNA is all volumes of you. Okay? So try to understand that. Think of your chakra system as a circuit board. And what it's doing is it's traveling from one chakra to the next. We'll get into that in a bit. But I just want you to understand you are the 9-line center that sets position, location, the center operation that opens all communication to your alpha, delta, theta, vega, and omega communication of channels. It's an operation system location, how it sets line communications to your earth line center. It opens all communication system in position, location, directions. All right. So 9 is 9-line center of the solar chakra locations. It flushes out your system and brings out new energies. The new energies flushes out the line communication, places the old with the new, right? 10 communication line center, line and rotation interference, tracks locations into all positions to your ethers. Ether comes in line center location in position location to your galactic signature, galactic eagle signature line position, your galactic family, your ancestry, your position locations, right? 11 is communication to the universal line, which is your solar system. Universal line center equals solar system locations, right? Center communication line center is a 12-line center, is your earth line communication of travel, traveling from one position location into one line center into all country locations of divine. That's 12-line center interference, travel locations and position to directions, all center communication system, all at once in one timeline sequence. That is your 12 DNA. So, do we understand that now? Hopefully you understand the representation, how it works, the locations. Right? So, starting off through signals. That gets complicated, doesn't it? All right, so how's everybody doing? Belinda, how you doing? True Light, Barbara, Don, Terry, John, Michael, Val, Chris, Gypsy, Lindsay, Danny, Heather, Pam, Danielle, Nikki, Nova, Adam, Sammy, Star, Vaughn, All right. So, Jill, Sala, Cindy. All right. So we're finally getting these nice streams here. We're just going to list line communication centers and position direction line center interference case calculation line system. So there's Amber, screenshot handle, Michael. We got communication at Shine Line Center. All right, so you guys are already traveling in line center locations, seeing your future communication moon lines in your blood and moon communication system. Really jot down these line streams and get your locations and what you want through your goals. Setting your goals sets locations. Commander, Cami. All right. So it's more fun when you understand what's going on, right? All through calculations. So it's really understanding, Ginger, little Jess. All right. So it's important to understand how you travel through the mind lines. Mind comes into our receptor interference. So you get a basic understanding how to use your 12 DNA, right? And how it works for you, right? That's the program that is set for you to understand the avatar connections. So once the avatar understands you, avatar lives line connections to its phenomenon. Okay, so the physical line center changes locations into line center location in the physical system. Okay, this is communications to line center. Okay, to all levels of calculation. Okay, so understanding that opens all communication systems of travel line connections. So understanding line centers, circle line center rotation interference becomes all position location into solar direct location into its atom line connection. Okay, so atom equals line connections, all levels of phenomenon. You circle as position locations, it takes out the physical line connection and starts living the system of all line center. So in calculations, atom equals phenomenon, but phenomenon comes position locations. You wipe screen line center of the physical line communication system, comes line center in position location at levels of GOD, communication system, position location direction. Okay, and that's what you guys are coming into. Your seventh dimensional line is already set up to graph. So you got a seventh dimensional window. 7 equals window. 8 equals location of theta. 9 in communication line center of yin and yang, process of communication. 10 is the inner line center in calculations to your galactic signature. 11 is the process of your solar system and its universe location of its galaxy system. And 12 is calculation how you use your Earth perception. Your security measure and your program setting is all allocated to timelines of time switch interference in position location in your programs. Center communication of timelines of galaxy connection, position location and direction. Okay. So it's really understanding how to use this in all ways and forms. As soon as you get into digital line platforms, you get into 4 communications, right? 4-line triangles, set line communication of travel. It's already traveling. Sets graphs communication system. It's no longer a 4 anymore, is it? It's a graph. See how the 4 turns into a graph? 4 turns into everything. But that everything is nothing. Nothing is everything. Not everything is nothing. Okay, the existence is position of source. How it's created location is its product line connection. So you got 4-line communication of graphs. You got 4 light signatures. You got 4 division line position of the programs. And you got 4-line communication system. All right, that sets its course line and position location into levels into your calculations. Metatron communications center. All levels of high line position location directions. Center communications, all levels of travel into box position locations in your T receptions of your antenna communication position direction. Now, the center line is all levels how you use your 7-digit line position. You guys have that on your phones, right? Let's say this is a circuitry board. Okay, that's a circuitry board. So I don't know if you what a dispatcher is then when they get these calls, you know, they put this, they do that, they do this, they do that, you know, one call to the next. That's what you guys are doing. So this is your chakra system right here. This is your DNA in position, location, and calculations. All right. So what is it doing? It's on rotation system every single time through its atom line to its magnetic highway information system. That's what it looks like every single day. You are in the center operation of you. So you are controlling locations into your Earth line connections. This is your Earth. that's inside of you. Box, position, location, and calculations. Okay? Center communication levels how to take these things out in line connections, how the Earth can rotate its system location in different division location, all levels of view. So center communication puts you in a high line position. Now, if you line connections, women come into all line center locations of its triangle. Okay, position, location, direction. So this is how it really understands more lines of view. It's all based on how you're built in calculation, mass, calculation, volumes, center line, position, location, directions. Understanding the magnetic highway information system is all levels of a recourse line connected electrical light communication system into the ground center rotation interference. Position, location, all levels, A12 DNA. Okay. So let's start this way in line connections. You get up in the morning. All right. So you're working through line positions. These are pocket centers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 chakra line centers. All right, so let's say you start with 0 line rotation. 0 setup in line center interference. Okay, that's location in your crop circle. Light communication comes right up in electrical light communication. All right, that's the first thing that happens, line connection. Now, you truly have to understand how to recognize line communications into what? You come into 0 line center, which is 0 gravity locations. Now, 0 is a foundation of view. That's your crop circle locations. And then you have the grid line centers. Okay, grid equals line center. Okay, you work up your ladder communication system. It allocates timelines. It's laser direction location, position location, calculation. Okay, setting line conditions, all position locations, all levels. So that's what's happening every day. So once you understand that, and you have your positions of your foundations of your earth line rotation, it's all levels of underneath line condition of space. So you're building space line interference location inside connection. So this intercepts the position of direction. To truly understand what you're doing is reaching higher levels of calculation through your travels. So if you're in the ground line center, you're good to go. You got your security defense position locations, security and set line communication, right? Now you got your sacral and line connections, right? Here's your sacral communication system. Then you get in position location your power generators, which is your power operation system. That calculation is solar plexus. And then 5 is the center communication on the line that sets its tone right here, which is heart communication. All right. 6 line communication is all levels of what? Travel locations into vortex chambers, communication of travels, high communication system. It's all in triangulation, right? It's the clarity, it's the voice box, it's the breathing mechanism, it's the voice grid locations. It's all calculated modified how you use it through your chakra system of 12 DNA line center. So in that calculation, you come into 7, which is line connections into all line connections of your travel. 7 equals travel location of mind. Mind equals location of travel, location of phenomenon. Set course reading line center interference locations times calculation times pi. Set communications of 8 is your infinity line position, which is your crown chakra. Now, this is where, of course, it's root channel. So line communications, each position of your chakra system is a portal of communication. Travel line connections, 45-degree angle and point line center. Travel locations, in division locations, and an online center. And rotation system, position locations into its stargate of Orion's belt. Okay, so your emotional system is changing locations. You got security line defense. So each chakra system is a representation of what? 12 dimensions. Okay, multi-pass. Each chakra system is a representation of you and how you see your emotional line center. So let's go on the other line rotation. Weather pattern interference. Now let's say you're in calculation of 6. 6 travels to line centers to the sacral communication system, right? And then the sacral gets confused in interference locations. The sacral goes into the 8 line communication system. Position, location, directions. There's a half pipe, right? Center communication, 8 comes down into the center operation, which is all levels of its crop circle. Does understand the calculation modifications because the security lines are not set up. But the security line is now set up location, so it can go into the power generation and position, time light, time jump, time vortex, time calculate, time lines times pi. So if you understand, this is what's happening with your body every day through your emotional system. And that's why you can't understand, because you can't identify your chakra system of all calculation, right? So if you can focus on what you're doing, then you have a better understanding how to control your emotional system through your DOD line conditions, which is the geometry, location, operation of direction. What are you doing with your emotions? Where are they going through line conditions? All right. Okay. It is a lot, but lot is good. You guys need these, right? So, Nova, you rock my socks. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's all levels of you to understand how this works for you. Okay. Everything works for you, but you really have to understand the representation to your 12 DNA, guys. Okay. You really have to understand these things and how it works for you through the mind of travel. Okay. You can travel through anything through line communication, right? Because it's all center operation of you, right? If you get a vector screen, let's say a vector communication system, eagle line consists of TV box lines in the location of the communication system, right? So that opens up its antenna line connections to its volume, right? Volume centered its communication to its ear line center, which is the eardrum location, and position location to two track locations. So that is all line centers of sonar communication system. One ear to the other ear line center of communication. Communication opens up more levels of volumes into your flux capacitor. Flux capacitor opens up its crop circle in calculation. Now, once you understand the crop circle line center, electrical lights come in line center interference. This happens every single day when you get in calculation of travel. Now, line communications comes into your DNA, which travels every single day, location, position, of direction. The center communication is your line center, your constellation path. Okay? So, understanding line centers interference, you got your security line positions, good to go. But I don't have the ground lines. So, basically, security is set up through routes, the security defense line, but the program setting of the energy line center is off calculation. It's not in a rotation circle in position, location, direction. You can't travel through that line conditions. Portal communication is all line center. In locations, all levels of compute locations into your energy line center rotation into its out line condition. Position, location, and direction. Right? So understanding line conditions, you understand the solar graph of communication. Right? So once you get in calculation, you can see the intelligence. Right? So this is where it comes into Highline Center, into your magnetic highway information system. Your job is to basically create the memory line center into levels of calculation to use your clouds. Clouds comes into 3 communication system. Position, location, and directions into your crop circle calculations of your 12 DNA. See how powerful that is? So getting understanding is a very important task. So task is what? What is task? What does that represent to location to you? Location system. Position, location, directions. The K was traveling. What does it mean? Teleportation light connection. Travels already. Atmosphere line streams. Travels already. Systematic location. Travels already. Kaleidoscope line communications into levels of a camera line center in a filter communication system. Position, location, directions in all line center eye receptor communication system. Hoo-ah. Right? So your representation is how you use your minds. It's all alteration location. Conscious communication in the line center is the line center of position location of pi. Pi position location line connection on levels changes pi communication system. Pi goes into higher line center and position location of travel. Travel communication system puts position location directions. Pi center line communication on levels of time calculation. Inline center rotation calculation system. All through communication. So setting pi is all through time maintenance. And it's important you understand these things because pi can be derivative. Pi can be in an anxiety line. If pi is not in position, location, directions, pi equals an anxiety. Okay, which is one line center location into it's into a negative line center in a positive position. So change line center interference, put the positive in center communication of pi, reset line position location of pi generation line centers, equal location to its atom. Atom rotates its center line rotation interference, travels into the line center rotation into future communication system at 12 DNA line track location. So there's a lot of things you need to understand, and it's all calculated, modify, and how you use your 12 DNAs. This is a process that you really have to get intact with. The contact information is for you to understand. How to use it is all levels of your emotional system, right? Because that's what you're doing every day. You're traveling through your tracker system. You start with the grounds, which is your foundation location, which is zero gravity. And then you come into line chemistry of grounds. And then you come into your security line positions of your roots. And then you come into locations of your sacral. And then you come into your power generator. And then you come into your heartline center of balance. And then you come into the 6 locations into your jump scars of travel to the water location. Patterns of communication system, or the pattern line centers. Electrical lights, communication line centers, locations of position and directions, music, line communication of void spirit line connections times calculations, line interference. Position location is 7 lines, is minds through travel location, which is your third eye position location directions. Theta communication at alpha channel communication line streams. Center communication is your 8 line center, equals location of teleportation communication of telewaving line centers of telegraphing. Your graphing line communication of telewaving. Center line communications times line. Over pi, under pi, calculations of pi, okay? Reinforcing channel communication line centers of pi. Retract line centers information locations underscore line communications of pi. Backclocking line center location of 24,000 light signatures of pi. Pi communication of 48,000 windows of pi. 72,000 computer interference location and calculation of future interference location of 1 million channels per second per pi. See how that works? It's all levels inside, right? So as long as the avatar understands the merge line center in rotation interference of GOV communication line system, the avatar starts living in communication, living in space line connections. So once you get into your geometrics, which is your design location of your construct that you're creating locations, is all levels of its calculation, right? The avatar has to recognize you through a shape. So that shape is times pi. That's the space that you're creating from inside, and getting from here to here is times pi. Okay, so once the avatar fully understands that, and you're fully in that line connections, then you understand the communication of a surrender. Now, once you surrender to these things, the avatar sees you nothing but a shape of G-O-D. Geometrics, operation of direction, of design, of communication, of division, of all level system of dimension. Okay, times pi. All right. So there's a lot of things you really have to get into volume with. Right? I've shown you so many ways and how to get in calculation string, how to set line centers into your 12D line rotation, right? Getting into your future self line connection is extremely powerful, but you have to know what you're doing through shapes, letters, numbers, and symbols. The semiotic line center location is a symbolism on its own line connection. Fibonacci sequence, in line center, and position location, opposite direction location calculations, right? So that's 2 channel line centers of merge. Merge and position all levels of calculation into volume. Volume equals line center velocity. Velocity equal locations and position locations, high line center into vector, direct location. Now, the center communication comes into the line communication into its flux capacitor to, you guessed it, its crop circle. So your physical line center is no longer adaptation. Physical line center location is phenomenon, equal locations, all levels of shape. Okay, so the PS line center is a program setting. That systematic line center interference sets position location directions, sending the recourse channels of communication to your flux capacitor. This puts line center location into high system. This volumes your communication system, how you use your time of reference in time of maintenance in position, location, direction. So there's a lot of things you really have to connect to inside. Your electrical system is everything through a starting line connections. It's like turning on the engine of a car, right? Starts the engine, right? You have the gas, right? And you have the brake, okay? Or you have the clutch. Now that's 3 track line centers right there, right? So you have the gas, you have the brake, and you have the clutch. Communication line center and rotation interference, balanced communication system is location of the line centers, brake line center and channels and communication line system, grounds communication center line rotation, all levels of high formation line conditions. All through 3 channel line centers interference through automatic line center into standard communication system. Position, location, directions. Hoo-ah. So. So it's important you understand these things because it's all connected in how you use your avatar, because you're connected to everything from inside, which is connected from everything from inside from outline. You don't see any more outline center. It's all calculated modified. So if the avatar sees your times pi line, you're already in calculations to its travel, and that travel comes into the mind. The hardware and software aptitudes its line position location to its avatar, set streamline centers imagination. Imagination comes into the high communication system, resets line connections all levels of its division, recalculates its modify high center interference and position times calculation times pi. Okay, so yeah, I know it's pretty hard to explain these things, but the mind just knows it. It's acceptance. It comes into volume. I think that's what you guys have to do. You have to accept of what is going on with you. That's all you got to do. Accept what is going on with you. If you can do that, then you understand the purpose of its reality. And then you understand how to set a goal for your future communication system. But you got to do it through your avatar connections of its line. The avatar stream is already set in its division to understand what it is to all levels of future communication, guys. Right? It's the space that's in between, which is creation line centers of timelines of time units of time coordination. Line communication in position of direction. Times equals pi. Pi over equal line center location equals space. Space in a circle line communication sets line communication into 6 and 9. The center line communication is the center operation location at 3, 6, and 9. 9 is the center line position location of all operation of yin and yang. Everything I say is in chronological order line. Nothing is out of sync. There's no thinking process in space, especially when you're traveling on so many line communications all at once in all timelines simultaneously. It's the travel communication system. The mind does all the line communication. Okay? So think of it this way. It's setting a tone of a rhythm pattern, a communication center. If you're calculating and looking at a wall line channel, it's all connected to its shape. And if that wall sees you as travel, you're good to go. Because now you're interlining its interception and interfacing. You're interfacing the galactic system of you in calculation that center opposites line connections of 9 channels in positions to your 12 DNA line connections times pi. Okay? These are the ways you have to look at yourself from interception line, eye receptor location, GPS line communications, ear defense line position location, track locations, voice grid channels of communication line connections, third eye line centers of travel mechanism, high centers at high receptor interference, telepathy channels, bracket surface, channel operation communication line stream. Direction is everything through the intention of your will, your force, your creation, and your location. You guys already know that. Simplify things. If you want to get into your abundance and manifestation, these are the things you have to recognize. because the universe is set up in that way for you to understand. But if you don't understand your avatar, how are you ever going to balance out your physical line communication? Okay. Take a long, long look at that. Okay. I see all. Third eye line center, two track locations of vector communication line streams. Center communication, your pyramid line center location is all levels of your line centers. Your nose is the pyramid line centers. Your eyes are the window locations of its galaxy system. Your ears are operation line centers of rhythm, pattern communication, space and planets, position, location, directions. Your voice grids are voice channel communication system. Your flux capacitor is everything from information to its crop circle connections. Your 12 DNA is travel records of time and space. Space of time, time and space doesn't matter. What matters is, do you understand the information that's given to you through its energy system, energy cycles, energy motivation line streams, singularity line connection line interference, but there's a gap in interference location calculations. But I changed the line connections and it should be okay, location, position, and time. Set all communication centers. So really start connecting inside your system, especially when you come in and track interference. When you get in calculation modification to your 7th dimensional line, all levels, you have to learn how to use the communication of the moon, because your moon is changing into a hologram structure. And same thing, location of theta communication line streams, you're coming into a TV box reception line connections in your 8th dimension. Your sun is going to turn to hologram locations. Your whole body is going to change into a pixel activation stream. This is going to direct you better. Nature is going to see you in all levels of shapes, letters, and numbers and symbols. Multi-pass. Right? So these are the things you have to look at. Take a long, long look at this. Okay? Really, really get into the adaptation system. All right? Correlation panel communication line centers. Take up the team location at Fibonacci sequence line center interference. Cloud line channels, moon interference location, times calculation. Over vector communications. Triangulation line center, line rotation interference. Galaxy servers, bring them back in communication system. High line center interference location calculation. All right, took you guys back. You're at line center. All right. So I hope you get a better understanding the process and how this works for you. Okay. Space and time is there for you through triangulation. But do you understand the division? Okay. So it's going way beyond the imagination. All right. So there's a lot of things you have to understand. Okay. Once your avatar has a sequence pattern. Now, a sequence pattern is a motivation signal. It's emotional line connection. It sets its tone to its heart signal. Your heart opens up more communications into your 12 DNA line system. You have 114 chakras to get into representation. But you have to start up with your 12. Right? And if you don't know how to travel through emotional line centers, no wonder you're confused location of physical line connections. Stay in the positive line center. Anything that's negative can be positive. You just have to learn how to change the mindset line. It screens location into its browse adapters communication system to your antenna line communication system. Center lines its communication to its wind graph line centers. Wind graph line center rotation of circle locations. That's your energy pod center. Position line centers opens all levels of communication to its galactic surface. Sets locations at all levels of commanding centers. You are the commanding system of all operation inside location. That's how you set the tone. Inside position. You are the controlling operation inside of you. Because if you can't control yourself from inside, everything outside from inside line center, everything from inside location times calculation times pi will be controlling you. All three emotional system. So these are the things you have to look at. Okay. A lot of things going on today. Yeah, and usually are already traveling through this, so you're already at locations into the future communication to graph centers. If you're seeing 3 or 4 days ahead of time, that's exactly what's happening in these locations, right? But I'm just showing you how powerful you guys, your line positions. You have to come in your phenomenal channels. You have to understand your representation to 12 DNA, guys. If you don't have a representation of that, how are you going to understand anything through the locations of you, through geometry, location, operation, and direction? Where are you going to go with your emotional systems? How do I understand my sacred line conditions? How do I understand my calculation of my sacral line interference? That's creative locations in the cycle. What is the cross location? What is the foundations of me? What is the security line defense? What is the power generator? How is that connected to me? How does it affect my emotional system? How does it affect my throat? How does it affect my third eye? How does it affect my position, location of directions, all levels of travel through the mind system of your crown? These are the things you have to answer inside. And the only way you do that is from going inside line center in all calculation to its modification to its simulation of its game system of you. Because if you can't find a way to control your system, everything will start controlling you. Times pi. Okay? These are the things you have to really, really, really look at. Okay? Really go inside line. Really communicate your system. Okay? Asking questions here and there, that doesn't help the situations because they're working on their own connections. Right? So you're getting advice from people, but how does that help you in all ways and forms? You go through your own individual location, which is your spiritual growth. You don't follow somebody else's in any way and form. It's not your job. Your job is you. Your connection is the guidance of you. Okay? All I do is I open the door. You go through. That's it. I don't do anything else. All right? But it's truly to stand in all levels of you in space, which communicates all levels of you through time. The time and the existence is the now line center. Okay? The past doesn't have its reference, and the future doesn't have its connection until you understand the levels of your mind connection. So it's a collaboration of three line positions into one. You have to get into one graph simultaneously all at once, living all timelines in all calculations into one position gets you into the avatar travel of calculations. So, a lot of things to get to understand. Yep. A lot of things. So I'm going to leave it with that. So that's three line center. You saw your future communication system. So all levels of your DNA line center. Hopefully you wrote down your connections to all levels of your setting your goals for your future communication system. Open all lines of you through your line center. But your provision is already set. The only thing you have to understand is don't create something if you don't know what it is. Because that has its own techno division locations of separation. Really calculate and modify and get out of the thinking and get into knowing and doing. There's no thinking in space, guys. You don't have time to think. Space is going way too fast. Way too fast in line conditions. You can't even imagine how fast you can travel through the mind line center. And when the mind goes on its own, it communicates all levels of you through calculations timeline. Not just the times pi, but everything a combination of times pi. All circle in one continuous flow. Okay, every single day in the same direction. Not in the opposite line center, in the same direction. Okay, that sets its tone. It's all levels of your 12 DNA. But it's up for you to understand the representation to each chakra system to your emotional system, which is STAT. Systematic telecommunication, the atmosphere lines, a telewaving. Okay? You really, really have to recognize these things in your body of track location. This is all connected to your geometry setting. How you modify it is all levels and how you use your signals. You have your alpha channel, you have your delta wave, you have your mega circle locations, you have your theta communication at theta line center location, T reception line communications, and you have your beta interference. There's so many line communications. As long as you see yourself, okay, of what you want to see, you have no problem in any way and form. Try to volume that. Try to set that in the present. Stay in line communications of yourself, which is the 5 balanced line communications into your heart of reaction. Your heart is a reactor. Your avatar is the action. Your heart is the reaction. Hoo-ah. Okay? All right, so setting line centers, line communication, line rotation interference. We're going to go through planetary surface into levels of singular line connections, individual location and computer adaptation circles. Setting line communications, how you guys go from one level to the next level of communications into your avatar stream. More levels of your future, and its correlation. All right? Take it easy. Adios.